Okay, so when you think of the ultimate cold weather champion, what comes to mind? For most of us, it's the polar bear, right? They are just built for the cold. But here's the question. If they're so good at living in freezing temperatures, why do we only find them up in the Arctic?
I mean, really think about it. They have this incredible fur coat, they are absolute master hunters, and they just thrive in some of the most brutal conditions on the planet. So why on earth haven't these amazing survivors set up a second home down in Antarctica? You'd think it'd be the perfect spot for them, right? Well, the answer isn't really about what they can handle today. It's actually about a journey, a story that started hundreds of thousands of years ago. To really get why their home address is exclusively the Arctic, we've got to put on our historian hats and trace their steps. All right, so let's rewind the clock, way back. Because the polar bear's story didn't actually start out on some floating chunk of ice, but on good old solid ground. You know, what's so wild is how new polar bears are, evolutionarily speaking. They're basically the new kids on the block. Just 400,000 years ago, their ancestors were brown bears, just like the ones you'd see today. But then, during the Ice Age, a few brave groups of these bears decided to take a risk. They ventured out onto the sea ice to find food. And that one choice kicked off this super fast evolutionary journey, turning them into the Arctic predators we know today.
So, this is where geography becomes the main character in our story. Their brown bear ancestors, remember, lived on the continents that surround the Arctic Ocean. For them, wandering out onto the ice was, well, a pretty short trip. But Antarctica? That's a totally different ballgame. It's a huge, isolated continent surrounded by thousands of miles of really rough ocean.
For those ancient bears, getting to Antarctica was just impossible. They would have had to cross enormous, warm oceans and deal with insane currents, all without the special gear they have now as polar bears. The Arctic was basically in their backyard. Antarctica might as well have been on another planet. So, because they were stuck up north, they evolved to become total masters of that one specific place. And the adaptations they came up with, they're nothing short of actual superpowers. So what's in this amazing survival toolkit? Well, from their crazy fur to their powerful paws, literally every single part of a polar bear is a masterpiece of evolutionary design.
Okay, get ready for a mind-blowing fact. That famous white fur, it's not white at all. The hairs are totally transparent and hollow. What they do is scatter and reflect sunlight, which makes them look white to us. It's the perfect camouflage for blending in with all that snow and ice. I mean, come on, that's genius.
And it gets even cooler. Underneath that invisible fur, their skin is pitch black. Why? To soak up every single bit of sun that gets through the hairs. It traps heat like a natural solar panel. It's the ultimate 2-for-1 deal. Perfect camouflage on the outside and maximum heat absorption on the inside.
And their physical abilities are just as incredible. A polar bear can swim for up to 60 miles without stopping. To put that into perspective, that's like swimming across the English Channel nearly 3 times. Their giant paws basically act like paddles, making them the undisputed marathon swimmers of the Arctic.
But all of these incredible superpowers, they all point to one single thing: the polar bear's total and complete dependence on one unique feature of the Arctic: sea ice. You see, sea ice isn't just frozen water. For a polar bear, it's everything. It's the highway they use to travel huge distances, it's where they meet their mates and raise their cubs, and most importantly, it's their dinner table.
And here's how that dinner table works. Polar bears are incredibly strong, but they're not fast enough to catch a seal in the open ocean. So their whole hunting strategy depends on using the sea ice as a staging ground. They wait super patiently over a seal's breathing hole in the ice, and then, bam, they ambush it with incredible force when it pops up for air. No ice, no ambush. Simple as that.
And seals are the main course, always. Just look at this. They make up a whopping 80% of their diet. Why seals? It's all about the fat. In the brutal Arctic cold, calories are king. And a single seal can pack enough energy to keep a bear going for days. This really sums it up perfectly. Without sea ice, a polar bear is like a fisherman without a boat or a fishing rod. The food is right there, swimming underneath them, but it's completely out of reach. Their most important hunting tool is literally melting away right from under their paws. And that brings us to the most critical and kind of sad part of this story. The polar bear's perfect evolutionary design, which took thousands of years to perfect, has a fatal flaw in the world we live in today.
Yep, their greatest strength has become their greatest weakness. In a world that's getting warmer way too fast, their absolute mastery of hunting on sea ice is now their Achilles heel. And this chart, wow, this shows you the devastating impact in really stark numbers. In the winter, when there's plenty of sea ice, a healthy polar bear can have a body fat percentage of over 40%. But in the summer, as that ice melts and disappears, so do their hunting opportunities. Their body fat can just plummet to 10%, which is a dangerously low level.
Okay, so after digging into their origins, their amazing adaptations, and their one critical weakness, we can finally go back to that first question and give the final verdict.
So, could a polar bear live in Antarctica? The answer is a clear, definitive no. They didn't evolve there, and they couldn't survive there now. And honestly, putting them there would be a total disaster for the local penguins and seals who've never ever had to deal with a big land predator like that.
And that's really the heart of it all. The polar bear isn't just an animal that lives in the Arctic. It is a creature of the Arctic. Its entire story is written on the sea ice. From its invisible fur to its hunting style, its whole existence is completely tied to this one specific and very fragile environment.
And that leaves us with one last, pretty heavy thought. We started this by calling them the ultimate survivor, perfectly designed for their world. But what does a perfect survivor do when its world is no longer perfect?